No one knew where she came from. They only knew her as the healer. She lived on the edge of the starport in a quiet metal hut surrounded by strange glowing plants. Every alien on the station feared her, not because she was cruel, not because she was dangerous, but because she wore a silver mask tight to her face and never removed it. The mask had no holes, no markings, and no lights. Just smooth, cold metal. It covered everything from her forehead to her chin. People whispered that whoever saw her face would suffer. Some said she was cursed. Others believed her face was so ugly it could cause madness. A few claimed she was not even alive, but a machine pretending to be a woman. No one ever dared ask her. She never spoke. She never looked anyone in the eyes. She simply worked. When someone was near death, too sick or wounded for hospitals, they came to her. And she always healed them. Bones snapped back into place. Fevers vanished. Wounds closed in seconds. But she asked for no money, no thanks. After the healing, she would turn away, and the patient would leave quickly and silently. Then one day, a human came. His name was Jack. He was a cargo pilot from Earth, rough around the edges but with kind eyes. During a job on a mining moon, a blast had knocked him into a metal wall. His ribs were cracked, and his shoulder was bleeding badly. The medics on the starport couldn't help. His injuries were deep, and infection had already started. Take him to the healer. Someone said Jack was carried through the dusty paths to her hut. He saw the strange plants glowing in soft blue. They moved slightly as if alive. The air smelled sweet, like old flowers and something ancient. She stepped out silently. Tall, wrapped in a dark cloak. Her silver mask caught the light. Jack stared at her. She didn't speak. She just raised her hand slowly and pointed inside. They carried him in, laid him on a table made of crystal-like stone, and then left. The next hour, she worked. Her fingers moved with soft, perfect care. She placed a glowing paste over his wounds. The burning in his shoulder faded. She placed both hands on his ribs, and he felt warmth deep, calming warmth spread through his chest. Slowly, the pain left his body. He watched her. She never looked at him directly. Her hands moved quickly, skillfully. No machine, no scanner, no tool. Just her bare hands. The mask never moved. Not even a sound came from her. Jack wanted to speak, but something inside told him to stay quiet. After it was done, she stood back. He sat up slowly, testing his body. Everything felt better, strong, like nothing had happened. "Thank you," Jack said, his voice low and respectful. She gave a slight nod, then turned away. But Jack didn't leave. He looked around her hut. It was clean, but strange. No bed, no food, no signs of comfort. Just walls covered in soft vines, strange markings, and glowing stones. It didn't feel like a home. It felt like a prison. "Why do you wear the mask?" he asked gently. She froze. He saw her shoulders tighten just for a moment. But she didn't answer. "I don't mean to be rude," he continued. "I just think it must be hard, hiding all the time." Still, she said nothing. Jack stood slowly. His body felt fully healed. It was almost impossible to believe. He looked at her again. The silver mask hid everything. But somehow, he felt like someone was crying behind it. He took one small step. Closer. Not to touch her. Just to be near. She didn't move. "You're not a monster," he whispered. "You saved me." She turned away quickly, and the cloak brushed the ground as she walked behind a curtain. A soft bell rang. The message was clear. Their time was over. Jack stepped outside, the alien plants glowing again as he passed. But something had changed. In him, he wasn't afraid of her. He wasn't sure why, but he felt like she wasn't the one hiding. The galaxy was hiding her Dot, and he was going to find out why Dot back in the starport. The others asked how it went. She healed me, Jack said simply. Did she speak? No. Did you see her face? No. But inside, he couldn't stop. Thinking about her. That mask. That silence. That sadness in her stillness. He knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. Asterisk whispers behind the mask. The station was full of noise alien voices. Robotic vendors, humming ships, but one name always. Made the room go quiet. The healer. After Jack returned fully healed, rumors grew louder. Some said he had seen her face and gone mad. Others believed she had marked him for death. But Jack knew the truth. She had saved him, and she had done it silently, gently. Still, the mystery of her mask haunted him. He couldn't forget the way her hands moved. Not like a machine, not like a doctor. Like someone who carried pain, someone who understood what it meant to suffer. There was emotion in her silence, something deep. Something. Broken dots of Jack began to ask questions, not loudly, not carelessly, but quietly, around the bars, repair shops, and cargo docks. Old traders warned him to stay away. You were lucky once, a furry alien hissed. Don't press your luck. A drunk mercenary even threatened him, shouting, You want to die, human? Keep talking about her. But Jack didn't stop. And slowly, strange stories came to him. An engineer once saw her heal a dying child just by touching her chest. A warrior claimed he saw her lift a heavy gate with one hand, saving an entire crew trapped beneath rubble. A pirate captain swore that she brought him back to life after poison, but said he never felt the same again. He had nightmares for weeks. It's not healing, he whispered. It's something more. Some claimed she was once royal. Others believed she was exiled from a secret race of godlike beings. A few said she was created, not born, built in a lab for war, and later discarded. Jack listened to it all, but one thing was clear: no one had ever seen her face, not the dying, not the curious, not even the violent. Her mask had never come off. Until now he had touched her. Just once. During his healing, their hands brushed, and in that moment, something had changed. He remembered the feeling clearly. A jolt like warm electricity through his bones, not pain, not fear, something else, something soft, something real. He had felt her flinch. So Jack returned. He didn't fake an injury. He didn't bring a bribe. He simply waited outside her hut with a sealed pouch of Blue Root's rare earth medicine known for pain relief. She stepped out slowly. The cloak around her body didn't move with the wind, like it was heavier than cloth. She stopped a few feet away from him. I brought this, Jack said, placing the pouch on a stone near her feet. You don't have to use it. I just wanted to thank you properly. She stood silently, then knelt down, not picking up the pouch, but gently running her gloved fingers over the surface. Jack saw her body hesitate, as if unsure how to respond. Then she turned and walked back inside, taking the gift with her. That night, something strange happened. A message came through Jack's com. No name, no sender, just a few words. You shouldn't get close. She's not what you think. He stared at the screen. No voice, no face, just those words. He didn't sleep that night. The next day, he returned to the healer's hut, but this time she was waiting for him. For the first time, she didn't walk away. She motioned him to follow her inside. The air was warm, and the glowing plants shimmered brighter than before. A crystal lamp cast soft blue light across the hut. She sat across from him on the other side of a smooth black table. Still, she said nothing. Jack didn't push. He simply asked, Why don't you speak? Silence. He leaned forward. Are you afraid? Nothing. Then she slowly lifted her hand. and pointed to her chest, then her head, then her heart again. Jack tried to understand. You feel too much? A pause. Then a single soft nod. And just like that, Jack saw her differently. Not a machine, not a god, not a weapon, a prisoner of her own feelings. She could not speak, could not show her face. Not because of power, but because of pain. Suddenly, the stories made sense. The sadness, the silence. A mask. She wasn't hiding herself from others. She was protecting the world. From herself. Asterisk. A glimpse of her past. The rain fell like silver needles over the starport. Jack stood under a steel overhang, watching her hut from a distance. He hadn't planned to return this soon, but his mind wouldn't rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her. Not the mask, not the cloak, but the quiet way she pointed to her chest. Her head, her heart, as if her emotions were locked behind walls too heavy to lift. He had to know more. This time, he brought something different, a carved wooden bird from Earth, smooth and small, with bright green wings. It's harmless, he said when she opened her door. Just something beautiful. She didn't respond, but she didn't turn him away either. He placed it carefully on the edge of a glowing shelf and turned to leave, thinking that was enough. Then he felt its light fingers brushing his wrist. He turned. Her gloved hand was on him, and in that exact moment, her mask sparked, a flicker of light, a shimmer, less than a second. But enough. Beneath the silver mask, something shined. Through, not skin, not scars, but light, pale blue. Almost like a star trapped behind a veil. Her eyes widened in panic. She jerked back as if burned and vanished into the back room. The door slammed shut. Jack stood frozen, heart pounding. He hadn't imagined it. He had seen something. Something not of this galaxy. He left quietly that night, but his curiosity grew sharper. What kind of being hides light under metal? Why would anyone want to cover that beauty? And what was she afraid of? The next day, he searched the DeepNet archives at the Space Library. Files long forgotten. Restricted documents. Ghost stories. And that's when he found it. A mention of a healer from over 150 years ago. One who wore a silver mask. Said to be part of an ancient species called Velari, a race believed to be extinct. They were known not just for their healing, but for their ability to connect deeply with emotions. They could feel every heartbeat in the room, every hidden pain, every hidden love. And if touched during high emotion, they could bond. The Velari weren't feared because they were dangerous. They were feared because they felt too much. And the galaxy had no space for beings like that. One file caught Jack's eye. A broken image, a blurry photo of a Velari healer standing in front of a burning temple. Her face was hidden, but her hands glowed like starlight. The caption beneath read, "Exiled. Forbidden to speak. Masked to contain emotional radiation. Do not touch." Jack leaned back in his chair, stunned. She wasn't cursed. She was punished. Punished for feeling too deeply. Back at her hut, the wooden bird was still there. But beside it now sat something new, a flower, glowing, alien, and delicate. A silent message. She knew he had seen and she hadn't run. Jack placed his hand near the flower, not touching it but close. "I won't stop," he whispered. "You saved me. Now let me save you." Behind the curtain, she listened. And for the first time in decades, she didn't feel alone. The day the mask slipped, trouble didn't knock on her door. It kicked it down. It was just past dusk when the attack came. The station was quiet, skies heavy with fog, and the healer's glowing plants had dimmed into sleep. Jack had returned again that day, carrying a simple fruit from Earth. He wasn't expecting a fight. He just wanted to see her, maybe talk with. His eyes maybe leave the fruit like a message she'd understand. But then he saw them. 3 figures in black armor. No faces. No names. Moving like shadows with purpose. They weren't there to be healed. They were there to hunt. Jack didn't hesitate. He ran toward the hut. The attackers were already inside. He burst through the door and found her cornered arms raised, body trembling, mask catching the flicker of their red blades. Step away. From her, Jack shouted. One of the intruders turned. This is none of your concern, human. Jack didn't care. He grabbed a metal staff from the wall and swung. The fight was chaos. Fast. Brutal. Jack got slashed across the arm. He fell. Blood spilled across the floor. And that's when it happened. The healer screamed. Not in fear. In rage. A sharp, echoing cry filled the room, a sound like wind and sorrow mixed into one. Her hands burst into light. Not fire. Not heat. But pure. Energy like soft lightning turned to silk. The attackers flew backward, slammed into the walls as if gravity had flipped. Jack lay on the floor, eyes wide. Her cloak rose behind her like wings, made of shadow. And then her mask cracked. Right down the middle, a thin line of glowing blue split through it. She gasped, reached up, but it was too late. The mask broke in two, and for the first time, Jack saw her face. She was not terrifying. She was beautiful. Not in the way humans speak of beauty, but something deeper. Her skin shimmered like moonlight. Her eyes glowed with sadness like stars trapped in water. Her lips didn't move, but somehow he felt her voice inside his chest. She looked down at Jack. Tears. Yes. Tears slid down her glowing cheeks. Then she moved, fast, gentle. She dropped to her knees, pressed both glowing hands against his wound, and whispered something in a language the air barely carried. His skin mended, the pain vanished, and warmth flooded his body like sunlight in winter. When it was over, silence returned. The attackers had fled. Her mask lay broken on the floor. Her face was uncovered. She didn't run. She didn't hide. She looked at Jack. Afraid, vulnerable, free. And Jack smiled. Thank you, he said again. But this time, he didn't mean just for the healing. He meant for trusting him, for letting herself be seen. She didn't reply with words, but she nodded slowly. Outside, the wind howled like it had witnessed something ancient awaken. Inside the hut, 2 souls sat in silence, one finally unmasked, the other forever changed. The healer's true identity. The mask was gone, but the danger had only just begun. Word spread fast through the shadows of the galaxy. Someone had seen the face, her face. The girl with the mask, the silent healer of the outer station, was no ordinary alien. She was Velaria, a name spoken only in warnings and ancient records. And now she was uncovered. Jack didn't understand at first why this mattered. But the deeper he looked, the more horrifying the truth became. The Velari were not just forgotten, they were erased. Long ago, the Velari were respected across hundreds of worlds. They could feel others' pain, hear lies and heartbeats, calm storms with a whisper. But their deepest power, the one the galaxy feared most, was the emotional bond. To bond with a Velari meant more than love. It meant connection beyond language, beyond thought. One could not lie to a Velari once bonded. Secrets could not be hidden. And in a galaxy built on secrets, that was a threat. So the Velari were hunted, not because they killed, but because they understood too much. When Serana's mask broke, her light returned. And with it came fear. Jack watched her from across the quiet room, now lit only by soft orbs hovering near the ceiling. Her face still glowed faintly, as if it could not be fully turned off, but her shoulders were heavier now, not because of exhaustion, but because she knew she had been seen. And that changed everything. He sat next to her, close but careful. What will they do now? He asked. She didn't speak. but her hands moved. Slow, graceful, full of sadness. She drew a circle in the air, then drew a line through it. They will come? He guessed. She nodded. Jack clenched his fists. Because of your face? A pause. Then her glowing eyes turned to his. She pointed at her heart. Because of what's inside? He whispered. She nodded again. In that moment, Jack realized what she had been protecting all this time. Not just herself. Not just others. But everyone. Because if her emotions spilled, if the bond triggered, others would feel her. Truly feel her. The guilt, the grief, the years of silence and shame. The buried memories of a people destroyed for feeling too deeply. And if someone tried to use her, if someone wanted to weaponize that power, the galaxy would burn. Suddenly, her silence made perfect sense. Jack stood and began to pace. There's got to be somewhere safe. A moon, a colony, anywhere. She didn't move, didn't respond. He looked at her. Why are you just sitting there? She slowly raised her eyes to his. And the answer was clear. She had already run for years, and she was tired of running. But Jack wasn't. You're not alone. Anymore, he said, kneeling beside her. They want to fear you? Let them. But they'll have to go through me first. For a second, her glow pulsed gently. And then something shifted. Her fingers brushed against Jack's arm. Just lightly. A whisper of a touch, and he felt it. A wave of emotion, not his own like warm water rushing through a cracked wall. He felt her fear, her hope, her loneliness, her need to be seen not as power, not as threat, but as someone, not a mask, not a myth. Just Serana. And deep in that moment, she bonded. Not fully, not dangerously. Just enough to let him in. Jack gasped softly. I see you, he said. Her lips parted slightly, and for the first time since their meeting, she smiled. Asterisk, the chase begins. The stars above the station no longer looked peaceful. They looked like watchful eyes. Ever since Serana's face had been seen, something had changed in the galaxy's air. Messages flew through back channels. Quiet. Conversations turned into urgent warnings. Ancient hunters woke from silence. And far away, across systems that had once ruled and killed in the name of control, a name once buried had returned to life. Filari. They wanted her captured, alive. If possible. Dead, if easier. Jack didn't wait. He helped Serana pack what little she owned. She didn't argue, didn't ask questions. But as they left her hut, her silent prison for years, she paused only once, looking back at the glowing plants she had raised from broken roots. He saw it in her eyes. She never planned to leave. But now, she had no choice. Their first stop was a hidden freighter hangar deep below the main docking bay. Jack used old favors, whispered passwords, and even traded a piece of his ship just to borrow a smuggler's route. They boarded a rusty cargo vessel that smelled like oil and old fish, but it flew fast, and that was all that mattered. As the Fae ship broke atmosphere, Jack glanced back at the shrinking starport. He didn't know if they'd ever return, but Serana never looked back. Their journey was slow and dangerous. They landed on forgotten moons, abandoned mining colonies, and floating ice rocks just to stay hidden. Every time they thought they were safe, something chased them off again. Serana never complained, but Jack saw the toll. Each jump made her glow dimmer. Each hiding place made her shoulders heavier. And sometimes late at night, when she thought he was asleep, he saw her cry without tears. Her body would simply hum with quiet sorrow. One night, in the dark belly of a moon cave, Jack asked her softly, "What happens if they catch you?" She looked at him and traced a small shape in the air, a cage. "And me?" he asked. She touched her own chest, then pointed at his bonded double quotes, "Then they'll take me too." She nodded once. Jack swallowed. "Then they won't catch us. They traveled further to the edge of a forgotten system, a rogue planet with no sun, just faint light. From deep space. Jack knew a place there, an old observatory used by deep void explorers. It was broken, cold, and buried beneath black rock, but it was safe, at least for now, inside. Serana finally allowed herself to breathe. She sat by a window that looked out into the endless dark, watching the stars that gave no warmth. Jack sat beside her. "You can't run forever," he said. She looked down, then slowly raised her hand. Instead of writing in the air, she reached toward his chest, gently placing her palm over his heart. Jack felt it, not a bond, not a surge, just her. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid for him. "I don't care," he whispered. "You're worth every risk." Her eyes glowed again, but this time, softly, not in pain, but in hope. Then a sound came, a beep. Low, distant. Jack's communicator flashed red, a tracking signal. Someone had found them, and now the chase wasn't over. It was just beginning. Love without the mask. They came like ghosts through the void, silent, swift, and without mercy. Serana and Jack barely had minutes before the enemy ship landed on the dead planet's surface. A deep hum vibrated through the black rock, and dust rained down from the observatory ceiling. Jack grabbed a pulse rifle with shaking hands. Serana stood barefoot in the cold, her cloak gone, her glowing skin uncovered beneath soft gray cloth. For the first time, she was fully visible, and she did not hide. "They want me," she said. Her voice, rare, quiet, carried more power. Then a shout. Jack turned to her. "Then they'll have to get through me first." Outside, the hunters approached. Their armor was painted black, their weapons pulsing red. They weren't bounty hunters. They weren't soldiers. They were cleaners, sent by those in power to erase what should never have survived. Jack aimed his rifle and took cover near the cracked doorway. "We can run again," he whispered. "There's still time." But Serana shook her head. No more hiding. She walked past him, out into the frozen light. The wind caught her hair, and her body glowed like a living flame against the dead stone. The hunters paused, just for a second, as if their minds couldn't accept what they were seeing. She raised her hands. "I will not fight you," she said calmly. One hunter raised his weapon anyway. Jack stepped forward. "No." He fired first, missed. They fired back. He was thrown to the ground, smoke rising from his shoulder. Serana's scream echoed across the rocks. She ran to him, fell to her knees, and pressed both hands to his wound. "No," she whispered. "Not again. Not him." Her glow brightened so bright the enemy shielded their eyes. The observatory shook. The planet trembled. And then everything stopped. Silence. No shots. No screams. Just the hum of something ancient. Waking. When Jack opened his eyes, Serana's face hovered above him, eyes glowing, tears falling, real tears this time. "You saved me," he said weakly. She shook her head. "You saved me," she whispered. He reached up and gently touched her. Cheek, no gloves, no mask. Her skin was warm, soft, real. "Are you still afraid?" she asked. Jack smiled, even through the pain. "No, I see you now." She closed her eyes, then leaned in. And in that moment, she bonded fully, freely, without fear. Their hearts aligned. Their thoughts merged like rivers joining after a storm. He saw her past. The exile, the betrayal, the centuries of silence, the crushing loneliness. And she saw his future. A human who refused to leave, who stayed, who saw her, not her power. When the light faded, the hunters were gone. Vanished, silent witnesses to something they could never destroy. Back on the station, word spread again. But this time, not in fear. She took off the mask, they said, and someone stayed. the legend changed. She was no longer the cursed healer. She was Serana, the last Velari. And the human who loved her made the galaxy remember that no power is stronger than being truly seen.